Hello. So we are at week 2 of 2 to Tarot. And so today I'm going to walk you through in this video some of the resources of the Major Arcana 0 through 7. We'll also cover numerology and some other important things like the 3 lines of the Major Arcana, and then we'll get into the Fool's Journey. We'll be learning about cards 0 through 7 in a separate video, but this is your introduction to what we'll be learning this week. So we'll start with the week 2 cheat sheet with Roman numerals in particular. So without knowing how to read Roman numerals, you can't really read tarot. You can, it's just a little difficult because they're not going to have the number 5 on a card, like 5 the way we read it. It's going to be the V. And so if you already know Roman numerals and you're like, I don't need to learn this, then you can just fast forward past this part. But the 1 or capital letter I it stands for 1, and V stands for 5, and X for 10. There are more Roman numerals, but these are the only ones that are printed on a standard tarot deck. And so every number included on a tarot card is a combination of one or more of these 3 symbols. The letter V cannot be repeated, but the I, the 1, and the X can up to 3 times in a row. And so some Roman numerals add on. For example, the 7 is written as VII. And so this is translated as 511, which equals 7. If you wanted to make 8, then you would just add 1 more. And I'll talk more about Roman numerals when we get to the actual lesson for this week. We also have the Major Arcana. So we're going to start, and there are 3 lines. And so the Major Arcana can be split into 3 sections. And so each week we will talk about 1 line on weeks 2 through 4. And so cards 1 through 7 represent the self line. I didn't really include 0 in that because he's kind of a separate card onto himself, but if you want to, you can include him in there. 0 through 7 will represent the self line. This is the section about the self-discovery of the 0, who is the Fool. 8 through 14 represent the collective line. This is about values. So not just about self-discovery, but about values. And then 15 through 21 represent the cosmic line. This section is about outside influences, outside of ourself and our values. These are things outside. And again, the Fool is not included in a line because he is the main character of the story. But if you did have to include him, you would include him in the self line. So when we talk about the Major Arcana, it is his journey. And I created a story that correlates with the Major Arcana cards. And this week we're going to cover just one part of the story, which involved the cards 0 through 7. And I've included some characters with this as well. For me, stories help me to remember. And so learning about the Magician, the High Priestess, the Empress, the Emperor, and the Hierophant, the Lovers, and the Chariot, which are cards 0 through 7 in story form, is helpful for me. If you don't like stories and you don't think it'll be helpful for you, then you can skip to the video about the actual meanings where we'll study them each separately. But for me, this has been pretty helpful. So, all right. So this is, now that was the cheat sheet. So now we're actually digging into Roman numerals. And if you will explore this, you will see what I told you earlier. This is the 1, the 5, the 10. And it really just explains to you how different numbers are built. Okay. And you can also count. So let's say you're just really not getting the Roman numeral, or you pull a card and you're drawing a blank and you're like, oh my God, what is 1x or IX? What does that mean? You can count. So you can count, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So don't get too caught up on Roman numerals, but it is important to know, and it makes it easier if you can read those. All right. And this is the cheat sheet. So I created a Roman numerals cheat sheet for you that you can look back at. It has more basic numbers when it comes to tarot, and just a little quick studying on this will really help you for each of the major cards, because it does go up to 21. All right, now we are with the 3 lines. So I talked about this earlier. I said number 1 through 7 is the self or the awareness. The major arcana is the fool's journey, and this line starts with the magician and it ends with the chariot. It includes the high priestess, the empress, the emperor, the hierophant, and lovers, and then the chariot. And this is going to be our focus. I actually see an error on here. It says the lover's card is number 7, but actually the lover's card is number 6. And so that's something that I will go back and correct. The collective influence, we'll learn more about that next week, but that is the section that's all about our beliefs and our values. What do we really believe in? What do we appreciate? What decisions and choices are we making? But most importantly, why are we making these choices? The circumstances of life are analyzed through this line. And then you have the cosmic or the evolution. And this is all about the world outside of us that affects us. This is unfortunate events like the tower, and temptation like the devil, our emotions, but how they're influenced by other things. And this is through the cosmic line. So let's dig into the fool's journey. Line 1. One way that we can learn the meanings of these cards is through the story known as the Fool's Journey, because his journey is a metaphor for life and includes many of the common struggles that we go through along the way. And some of the words that I have highlighted, if I have it bolded, that is the meaning of either the upright or the reverse version of the cards. You'll learn a little bit further in the course that reversals are usually read as the low vibe. Not always. The 5s are usually an exception. The 3 of swords is an exception. But most of the time, if you pull a card upright, that is the high vibe version. So when you see that the fool is innocent and positive, that's going to be the upright version. But when you see that he can be a little bit reckless and not ready to take a leap at times, that is the low vibe or the reversed version. But our adventure is going to start with our main character, the fool. He's innocent, he's positive, he's naive, and he's ready for a new beginning. He's full of life and happiness. You can see him here with his little dog, and he's literally about to take a step off of that cliff. He's got his head up, the sun is behind him, and that represents happiness. He isn't thinking about the possible pitfalls, though. He's ready to take a leap. He's ready to follow his dreams, but he can be a little bit reckless at times. When you get the Fool card, that's exactly what is being represented there. Usually it represents a new beginning, taking a step forward, not being afraid to do something. But if it's in reverse, you might want to be cautious. You might want to wait a little bit. Just as he gets ready to take off on his journey, though, he's going to meet 2 people. The number 1, who is the magician. You'll see him here on the right. And you will also see the high priestess. Okay. And both of those boost his creativity. It is the magician who shows him how powerful he is through action, skill, and willpower. He shows him that he can create the life that he's always wanted. He gives him all of the physical things that he needs for this journey. And so he is helping him with the actual willpower to move forward. Okay, this is a very physical card. And then he also meets the mysterious high priestess, and she gives him things as well, but they're more on the intellectual level. Okay, she gives him wisdom about good and evil. She helps him connect to his intuition. She is full of secrets, though, but she offers him spiritual knowledge that's going to help him connect to God and him as he grows. He leaves her understanding the power of the subconscious mind, and he has a real thirst for knowledge. The thing to remember with the high priestess is she represents duality, and she has both light and dark inside of her, just like we do. So those are our number 1 and our number 2 characters. And now we are to the third card, the Empress, another person. Remember that the Major Arcana is made up of people and then also challenges, and there's 5 different things, but here we have another person. So a little further down the road, the Fool is going to meet the Empress and her husband, the Emperor. So the Empress is 3. She's the feminine. And then he's with her, the Emperor. He is the masculine. They represent both the mother and father. Okay. Not only does she represent the mother, but also abundance. She is a nurturer and she represents beauty. She teaches him about beauty and love and fertility. If somebody was coming to you for a reading and they want to know, will I get pregnant? And you've pulled the Empress card, that's a good indication that yes. If you were to pull it in reverse, which represents infertility, the opposite, the low vibe, the answer would be no, or you might be struggling. Okay. And here's another thing, feeling that he is becoming too dependent. Empress represents dependency. The emperor snatches him away and in hopes that he can save him from becoming lazy and uninspired, because that's part of the empress as well. What does the emperor want to do? Well, he hopes to influence him and he wants him to be practical. He's an authoritarian, okay? He's very much the father, very Saturn energy. And he tells him, you have to be dependable. And that's what he's teaching. Structure, stability. This is all a part of the emperor. Although his push towards stability was just what he needed, the Hierophant steps in before the emperor goes too far. He doesn't want him to teach him about control or domination, another part of the emperor. The Hierophant, the number 5, sees both sides and he embraces the thoughts of both Mr. and Mrs. He teaching is a very important part of the Hierophant, the Fool about spirituality and tradition. He loved to share good advice, and he tells the Fool all about marriage and politics and society. After listening to the Hierophant, the Fool starts to question everything, and he knows and starts everything that he knows. He starts to be a little bit of a rebel. Okay. With this rebellion comes a challenge, and the Fool learns about love, passion, sexuality when he is introduced to the Lovers, which is the number 6 card. And our final card for this part of the line is, we'll talk about the Lovers a little bit more. The Lovebirds tell the Fool how exciting it can be to make choices. You see, everybody always thinks the Lover card is just about 2 lovebirds, right? But really, this card represents decisions, choices, especially regarding relationships, but relationships of all kinds. And because they're kindred spirits and share the same values, the Lovers seem like the perfect pair to the Fool. He just loves them. But their union is not all bliss, okay? If you get them in reverse, it can represent disharmony, conflict, temptation. But seeing both sides of the coin, the Fool now understands that nothing in life is easy, and that to achieve success, you have to be assertive, determined, and have control over yourself and your emotions. And that is what is represented by the Chariot. So through this story, you see more about the cards and what they represent. And in the next video, I'll go into detail about each and every one. But just kind of knowing this part of the story will help you to get a general idea of each one of these cards. Stay tuned for part 2, exploring 0 through 7 of the Major Arcana.